Hi y'all, it's me again. Just in case anybody was wondering, I was having to deal with some stuff. That's why I didn't post a video the last couple weeks. But I'm back, and today, rather than giving my 2 cents on something, I'm going to tell y'all a story that is quite educational, especially for those of you who are thinking about working with snakes in herpetology or just small animal care in general that would of course involve snakes. This is about a snake. But it's highly educational. I'm not a teacher or anything like that. I have no degree working with animals. I have worked with animals. I've been around animals all my life. I do know my stuff, but I don't have a degree. I'm not a professional or anything like that. So this is just a story from my own experience that I know people need to hear, especially if you're going to handle a snake, because like I said, this is a snake story. Okay. So our local high schools have an extra school built that is a career academy. And the career academy, basically, there are certain things that people want to go into, like welding, working in a garage, or like small animal care, veterinary science, forestry, and wildlife management. And the career academy gives you a chance to experience all of that, which is a really good thing, because Lord, we need it. Lord, people need it. But people really do need experience and stuff like that. So getting some experience in high school is a really good thing. It lets you know, okay, is this really something I want to pursue, or was this just something I thought would be fun, but it's not really for me. Anyway, back on topic. I was taking a small animal care and veterinary science class my junior year that at the career academy, and one of my classmates, I'm going to respect his privacy, so we're going to call him Luther. He and I loved being around the snakes in the class, because working with small animal care and veterinary science, you have to work with some animals, and our teacher just happened to have many snakes in the classroom. Like, I remember we had 4 ball pythons, 2 different kinds of pythons. One, I believe we called her a rainbow python. Her name was Rosey. Rosey. I had to think of her name. I'm sorry. And then there was an Australian rock python or something like that. We called her Terra. And there were a couple other snakes. I can't remember what breeds they were. I don't remember everything right off the bat. But this story is about Rosey. I was very skilled handling the ball pythons. They were bigger snakes. I was able to handle them better. But my friend Luther, while he was also really good at handling the ball pythons, he saw Rosey, and she was not friendly towards people. She was, I want to say she was probably the newest of the bunch, maybe, but I just know she wasn't the most, she didn't like people all too much. She was kind of aggressive. So Luther decided he was going to try and help her out with that. So we had on this thick pair of gloves, so anybody who wanted to handle the snakes but was too afraid of getting bit on the hands or something could put those on, and even if the snake bit, the gloves would be so thick they wouldn't get hurt. So Luther was handling Rosey with the gloves on at first, and she would just bite at them and bite at them and bite at them if they ever got, for the first couple days at least. And then she started realizing, oh, okay, it's not gonna hurt me. So she started she started biting less. Until a couple months went by, and then she hadn't bitten at him with the gloves on or anything. So he just slowly started handling her with his bare hands, and she would be okay with it. Like, she kind of bonded to Luther in a way, I guess, because she realized out of all the humans there, she knew for a fact he wasn't going to hurt her. And it got to the point where he was able to put her around his neck even. She would not let anybody else do that. But she got so used to him, like, handling her with his bare hands, and he was gentle to her and everything else. Well, one day he needed to run out to his truck, and he knew I was very skilled at handling the snakes. I don't have professional skills in that either. I was just used to handling all the snakes. And he asked me, like, can you hold Rosey for a second? I just need to run out to my truck right quick. It's right next to the parking lot. I'll be right back. And I said, okay, I don't mind, because, I watched him take care of her and handle her, and I knew she hadn't bit anybody. She hadn't bit at anybody. She didn't bite him or anything like that in about a month. And I trusted her. I was keeping myself calm when he handed her to me, and she was still nervous. I mean, I can understand that. I'm not a snake, but I can understand, like, the one human you trust is now completely out of your sight and someone else is holding you. So she was, like, staying in motion. So what I was doing to help her out with that was I was moving my hands like this. Kind of like a little Ferris wheel, And I was doing okay with that. I was standing in the window that separated the actual classroom from the lab so that our teacher could see me. He knew I had Rosey. Because, Luther let our teacher know, like, Sarah's got Rosey right now. Just keep an eye out, because if anything happens, because you still gotta be cautious. But, everything was going fine. She was still in motion because she was nervous, and that's understandable. One person she trusts was completely out of her eyesight. Like, she couldn't see him anywhere. But I was keeping calm, keeping her in motion, and being me, just telling her, it's gonna be okay, he's gonna be right back. Because I talk to animals, I tell them stuff like this. It's just a part of me. I'm a weird individual. Don't judge me for that. But, okay, so another one of our classmates, he was younger, he was a freshman, he was like 14 years old. He walked out of the classroom into the lab, and he apparently didn't notice me standing in the window holding Rosey. And once he, saw her, his reaction was not to move away quickly and say, oh God, she doesn't like me. Ah, that snake hates me, that snake hates me, that snake hates me. That was his response. Throwing up his hands, going wide-eyed and yelling. And I'll be honest, snakes, even if they do have hearing, is very bad. So I don't think the yelling really got to her as much as him throwing up his hands right in front of her and making himself look bigger and going wide-eyed, like he was trying to scare her or something, because that's exactly what happened. He scared her. And what happens when you are holding a snake and they get scared? They're gonna bite. Or they're gonna strike. And I was trying to keep her calm, and I was telling him, go away, you're gonna scare her. Right when my other hand came up, she struck and got me right there. On both sides, you could see an imprint of her bite mark, like her full bite mark. And of course, I jumped because, oh my gosh, she just bit me, I felt that. And I'm holding her, I almost completely dropped her, but I had her by the tip of her tail. I'm like, I'm so sorry, girl. like, I've got my other hand out here, there's blood coming out of it. I could see there was blood. And one of my other classmates, he had handled her a few times enough that, you know, he was able to take her without her getting upset. And Luther came back in right as this happened. And he said, "Oh my God, did she bite you?" And I said, "Yes, she bit me." And he's like, "Sarah, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She hasn't bitten anybody in so long." And I said, "It's not your fault. It's not her fault. It's not my fault. It's his fault." Like, pointing to the kid who did this. Like, when he saw her, he reacted dramatically. And went, "Ah, the snake hates me, the snake hates me." Again, you don't do stuff like that. You can't do stuff like that and not expect an animal such as a snake to react like nothing. That takes years of practice with a snake before they don't do stuff like that. And even then, it's a risk you don't want to take. But, like, you know, I wasn't mad at Rosey because, like I said, at the end of the day, that wasn't her fault. That wasn't my fault. That wasn't Luther's fault. That wasn't anybody's fault except for the kid who decided he was not going to react the way you should react when you are around a snake, and be calm and back away if you are not comfortable with a snake that close to you. You're gonna act, he decided he was gonna act all dramatic like, and pretend like it was the end of the world to have a snake around him. And it's just Rosey that he had the problem with. I mean, the poor thing, she didn't do anything. She really didn't. Yeah, she was aggressive. She didn't like people being around her. Especially, like, I don't blame her for not wanting to be around him with the way he acts. But, like, Rosey did not forgive me for almost dropping her. Because a week later, she, like, Luther had her back around his neck. She was perfectly calm, but when she saw me, she, like, went... I'm like, "I'm sorry." Like, I looked at her and said, "I'm sorry, Rosey." And Luther goes, "What, is she hissing at you?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's not happy. She doesn't like me anymore." And it's like, I understand. I really do. Because I don't think I would be too happy either if somebody, like, almost dropped me because of some jackass that decided he was gonna scare me. Like, it's something I laugh at now because, you know what, it's a lesson learned. My mom kind of freaked out a bit when she saw that I had a snake bite on my hand, and I'm like, it's like, it was right there, was like right where my fingernail is, was where the bite ended. I'm like, the only reason why it hurt so much was simply because it was on a pressure point, so I actually did have a bruise, but it went away after about a week and a half at the latest. And it didn't bother me so much. It bothered me the first day because, you know, fresh wound. But, like, I think sharing that story, that experience, is a good lesson to share with people. Especially because, you know, snakes are not 100% tame animals, and they never will be. You have to know how to properly handle them. You have to be calm. You have to show them you're not gonna hurt them. Just because you're a giant doesn't mean you're gonna hurt them. And I say giant in the fact, like, imagine you're laying down on your belly and you look up and there's a human. Let's say a human the size of me that's like 5'5". In a way, I'm short. Or, like, according to the national average, I would be short, I guess. I'm not sure how that works. But, like, just say there's a snake down here, you're laying down on your belly, and there's a 5'5" human standing right next to you. You look like a giant to them. That's just... I'm not too terribly good with my words. But, you know, to them, you're a giant, and you could easily hurt them. what you're showing them is, you know, I'm not gonna hurt you. So, moral of the story, when you see people handling a snake, do not over-dramatically react, no matter how dramatic of a person you are. Because if you see somebody handling a snake, and you do this, or you scream, you freak out, you flail your arms, whatever, that's gonna scare them, and you're putting the person who's handling them, the snake, at risk because they're the human that are closest to them. You can be, like, the snake can be your best friend. You guys can, like, be as close as a human and a snake can possibly be. And the wrong person comes up and starts acting dramatically and throwing their hands up and making themselves look larger than they are. It's gonna scare them, and they will turn on you because you're the human right here. Like, and even then, you're putting others at risk. When you're handling a snake, if you handle a snake, you have to be calm. If you are around a snake, you have to be calm, because it's just not gonna end well if you act like the dramatic people that some of you are. You have to learn when it's okay to be dramatic and when it's not okay. Being around a snake is not okay to be dramatic. Like, I can be dramatic in this video because I don't have a snake around me. I can flail my arms, and that's okay because I don't have a snake around me. If I had any snake, like a ball python or whatever, that I'm used to handling around my, like, resting on my shoulders right now, I would not be flailing up my arms because that would scare them. You have to take the animal into consideration, as well as the person, as well as yourself. I can believe wholeheartedly I sound like I'm yelling right now, but like, I'm really trying to get your attention on this. I'm hoping that my story will prevent you from getting hurt yourself when you're trying to do something like this. And please, for the love of whatever you believe in, whatever, whoever, anything like that, just please, I beg of you, do not handle a snake if you are not comfortable being around and handling a snake. If you see a snake and somebody else handling a snake and you are uncomfortable, do not act dramatic, do not flare your hands up, do not yell, do not go wide-eyed. Actually, no, I take it back. You can go wide-eyed if you're backing up. Like, do what you would normally, what they tell you to do in elementary school when you see a snake. Slowly take 5 steps back, and then if you want to run, go ahead and run. But don't act dramatic around snakes. Don't try to kill snakes just because they're in your yard, because chances are, if they're a non-venomous snake and they're in your yard, they're getting rid of the rats and mice for you. I'm sorry, I had to leave that little bit of notification in. Anyway, snakes are not evil creatures. They are actually really good for the world to have. Some snakes are invasive and they really don't, like, you know, shit happens. And they are in places they don't really need to be, but they're there. We still need snakes in this world. Anyway, I'm going to end this video now. I hope that I was able to stay on topic enough to teach you guys, like, the moral of the story. Don't mess with snakes. If you are messing with snakes, don't be overly dramatic at the same time. Oh my god, I cannot close this well. Anyway, I'll see y'all guys later. Peace.